So the Honors Student Association, which is a great active student organization, they do community outreach, they do philanthropic events. They also just have fun. We do trivia nights, we have pizza nights. They bring in food during finals, to try to de-stress, things like that. We also have an Honors Living Learning community, which is in the new residence hall on campus that's just about a year old. That's where our honors students live together, particularly in their first year. So we have those kinds of experiences for you. We just have a whole lot of other honors experiences where we've taken trips to Chicago. We've done all of those kinds of things. And what you can see here under this, these are the videos that I said that students have made on their own. We didn't ask students to do this. They sent us videos. And so we put them up on our YouTube channel. So you can listen to students talk about, well, why honors? You don't have to take our word for it. These are students in the college. So there's a whole, and so they asked me to do a little intro to the first one. But what you can do is see videos of our students talk about their experiences, pushing beyond limits, the supportive community, the opportunities, the ambassadors. Again, a financial advantage because we do have scholarships. This is Lillian Lanier. She's one of our students that got one of those scholarships last year. So, and how honors kind of makes college easier for a lot of our students by providing a community and a supportive network for students. And so I wanted to point out that that's part of the webpage. So if you go to the Honors College webpage, you can browse the first year experiences to see all of the things we have to offer to students. You can also see some of our student spotlights to see what students have done in the past. Katie was one of our graduates last year. She's now working on a PhD at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in neuroscience and biomedical sciences. But I want to turn to the application to show you kind of philosophically how we're different. And so what we ask for on your application is some information. And I preface this by saying we do ask for essays, but they're not the kinds of essays you think of. So these are not essays that are meant to test your knowledge of things. These are essays about you. One of the themes of our application that you'll see is this is all about you. We want to learn about you so that we can tailor an experience for you to help you make the most out of college. I do want to point out here, because we had to put this underlined, bold, italicized, everything, because we do have students who start. This application cannot be saved. It's a quirk of the application system. So what we suggest students do is actually look at the questions and then type the answers in Word, copy and paste them to send. Because if you start this application, you can't stop and just save it and come back to it another day. But we've asked for basic name, those kinds of things. Your birth date, that birth date helps connect it in the system for us so that we can connect that to your NKU application that you applied to the university. Some email, phone numbers in case we need to get to hold. I always like to tell students, we need your email and phone number so that we can get a hold of you when we offer you admission and a scholarship. So think of it that way. This is how we get a hold of you to congratulate you for being part of the Honors College. We ask about your high school. Just we're always curious where students are coming from. And then, are you an international student, or are you an incoming freshman, transfer student, or current student? We have students coming and using the application for a lot of different reasons. We do want to know what you're interested in studying. You could type anything here. Let us know. Let us know the 50 things you're interested in. We say you're a name, not a number. And so if you filled out the NKU application, the one thing you noticed is, or any college application, there's just a drop-down menu and it says select the major that we have named that fits you. And that doesn't always work. Maybe you're interested in a lot of things. You can type them all in here because we want to know about you and know the things you're interested in. You can copy and paste all your extracurricular activities, anything that you want us to know beyond that. We do have our learning communities listed here. This is not committing you to any of them. It's just allowing us to know things that you might be interested in. Oh, you didn't know we had a media and public discourse, or you didn't know that we had a science, technology, and society. You can click that, and it just tells us a little bit more about the things you might be interested in. And if you didn't see a learning community, what might you be interested in? And this is where we create new ones every year. We had a lot of students interested in film and media, so we created a new film and media learning community this year for the first time. What are the things you're interested in participating in? Study abroad, undergraduate research, service learning, volunteer service, all of those kinds of things. We will help connect you with all of our partners across campus that we work with in these areas to make sure that you have the most robust college experience. And then the essays. And you'll notice that these essays are different. They're not a hypothetical situation. We're not looking for a writing sample. The first question is quite literally, tell us, if you're admitted to honors, what will you take advantage of? What are the opportunities you're excited about? So that we can start to prepare to develop a program for you that is tailored to you. Secondly, we want to help develop the leaders of tomorrow in your communities. So how will you give back? If we invest in you, and we invest a lot. I talked about all the scholarship opportunities, the study abroad. We actually have tens of thousands of dollars that we send students to conferences. We pay for research supplies. We pay for art supplies for students. We invest well over $100,000 a year in students beyond scholarships to help them achieve their goals. If we do that, what will you do with that investment? How will you give back to NKU? I know, Michelle, you were involved in so many things on campus. I don't know if you want to talk about that. And that's where you met a lot of honor students, because we want students to be active on campus. So I don't know if you want to mention that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really invested in Greek life. I was the president of my sorority, and I was on the sweetheart court for a fraternity. And there are so many students in not just fraternity and sorority life, but leadership organizations, governance organizations. If you have student council at your high school, at the collegiate level, we do have student government association, and there's honors college students, oh my, in every organization on campus. I'm sure there's just so many different interests, and these students genuinely want to get the most out of their college experiences, so they put themselves out there, and it's really amazing what they do.
And beyond that, we get the question all the time. We have students on almost every athletic team. Even we're Division I. We've had captains and leaders of those athletic teams in honors. Honors. We have honor students in all 72 academic programs on campus and involved in everything that you can think of. It doesn't mean we need you to be involved in everything, but we want to know how you'll give back. How will you give back to the NKU community, or how will you give back if we invest in you after graduation? You want to become a doctor and serve, your local community. Tell us that. We want to develop socially responsible individuals and leaders in your communities in the future. And then finally, this is my favorite one. Just tell us anything about you. And we do mean anything. Fun facts. This is where we learn about you as a person. We get engaged with who you are. We have a weird dynamic. This past year's freshman class, we have 5 students who are interested in archery. We actually had students out by the Science Center. We set up a whole target, and we had students out there with bows and arrows shooting, because we knew through the application we had a number of students interested in archery, which first time in my career working in honors that we've had that. But we want to know who you are. We want to know how you'll add to the eclectic community that is the Honors College. And then also this helps us help match students together. When you do come to NKU, we can help you find students who share the same interest, or share some of the same struggles, share some of the things that motivate you, those kinds of things. And so, for example, I often connect with students who tell me that they come from small rural towns, and they've had that experience in colleges. It might be intimidating in this, because I grew up in a town of 800 people in the middle of nowhere, rural poor. I graduated with 35 people in my senior class. And so I can relate to that. And so, by reading this, even some of us who are in the faculty and staff of honors can start to sort of connect with students who have similar interests and those kinds of things. And so sometimes it also helps us connect you to our alumni who have interests. I know we had a student who is now a sophomore who talked about wanting to get involved in entrepreneurial activities, wanted to start his own business, those kinds of things. He was from Cincinnati. He had a particular passion towards sports, and he's now being mentored by one of our alum who started his own shoe company, and is now the CEO of his own company, finished with his MBA, and is now acting as an alumni mentor for that sophomore. In fact, that sophomore is sort of shadowing him to learn. So If you watched the Bengals game 2 weeks ago, if you're from the area, and go Bengals, Who Dey, if you're from Cincinnati area, many of the players wore customized cleats. It was cleats for a cause, where they got to design them. He actually made all the cleats for the Bengals game during that game. So we have some amazing alumni who want to give back to help students. So these kinds of questions are really helping us connect you with additional resources. And that's it. That's the application. You notice we're not asking for GPA and test scores and all of those kinds of things, because what we want to know about is, how can we help you? What are the things that we have to offer that might benefit you during your time at NKU? And really, how do we match those together? And so the best essay questions, again, we use these for scholarships for incoming freshmen. The best scholarships, or the best applications, are the ones that tell us about you as a person, your dreams, your aspirations, are authentic, and those kinds of things. I will tell you one thing: our application readers do not care about grammar. We aren't, it doesn't have to be a perfectly penned essay question. More importantly, it is that we learn about you. Michele, I know you've the past couple of years have read these applications as a member of the admissions committee. Do you want to talk about kind of what you gain or what you glean from these essays?
Yeah, it definitely makes it feel so much more personal, rather than just, let's say, being in admissions, looking at GPA, ACT, boom, you're in, X, you're not in. Whereas we get to really learn about you as a person. I think one of my favorite essays that I read was at that like number three question, when it was asking, what should we know about you? One student just listed off 10 fun facts about herself and fun facts that she found from the internet that she found really funny. And I love that. I love when students are able to put their personality and show us who they truly are into that application. And it definitely feels incredibly rewarding when students want to say, oh, I want to go off and better the community by running my own nonprofit. And it really makes it so impactful seeing your hopes and dreams, and hoping that we can make them reality.
Yeah, and we really do want to know what those are, and we won't forget them. I think a lot of the students are a little weirded out that we know so much about them, 2, 3 years down the road. And because I read every application that comes through the college, and I have a weird memory, so I like remember things. And I'll remember what a student wrote in their freshman application and say, "Hey, didn't you tell me you wanted to do this, and this was your dream? And how can we make that possible?" And they go, "How did you know that?" It was like, "Well, you wrote that in an essay." Or "How did you know that I was into clog dancing?" And it was like, "Well, you wrote that as a fun fact." And so, because we did a talent show a few years ago with the Honor Student Association, and I mentioned to one of the students, I said, "Why aren't you clog dancing as your talent?" And she said, "How did you know I clog dance?" I said, "You wrote it in your application that you did that in competitions, when you were in high school." And so we do use these, we do read them. It really is authentic. We want to learn about you so that we can make the experience the best for you as an individual as we possibly can. I hope we've answered some of your questions. If you have questions, please turn on your microphone, jump in the chat. That's kind of what we wanted to share with you today. Was I think what we think is awesome about the community that we've developed at the university. Um, I never remember everything that we do because we do so much for students, and it's very different depending on you know what you're interested in majoring, or your academic areas of interest, or your personal goals. Because like I said, all of our 700 students have different experiences that we help craft for them over the course of their academic career. So this is not a one size fits all honors college, but it really is. We try to form sort of communities within the college where students really get together. A lot of our students, they end up living with their best friends, are their friends from honors. They live with them throughout their college career. They socialize with them. They study. We have whiteboards all over our honors. We have a study table. We have study rooms and all that kind of stuff. And you'll see like all the chemistry mate. I know when an organic chemistry exam is because all of the students are like studying together in the honors lounge. And so it really does form a sense of community depending on which community you find in the Honors College, and we'll help you do that. But we are happy to answer questions that you have. Would it be so we have a question, would it be beneficial to write about a big challenge adversity I've faced and overcame? Absolutely, Corbin. In fact, what's interesting is up until this year, we used to have a fourth question, and the fourth question was really about facing adversity, particularly during COVID. We had a question that was very specific, like what have you learned about yourself? So what I would say about writing about an adversity or a challenge that you face is one of the things I think our readers, every application gets read by two people, independent, who score each application for scholarship purposes and make a recommendation for admission. I think the important part is to let us know what you learned from that challenge or adversity about yourself. Again, we want to know about you. So not just the challenge or the adversity that you faced, but like, what have you learned about yourself through that process? You know, what does that help? How does that help us help you in those situations? So I hope that makes sense, Corbin. But yeah, we absolutely, you know, particularly if that's something important to you, we want to learn about that so that it can help us tailor your experience. Janae, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Is that how you pronounce your name? Or if you want to help me out. You said, what's your favorite part about the Honors College? I'll let Michelle go first.
Thank you, because I did have an answer. So Jim had just mentioned clogging, and it made me think of this. My favorite part about the Honors College, and maybe it is, I'll give two favorites if that's okay, but one being a recent graduate of the university, and two being in college. But my favorite outside is watching all of the different things that these honor students have accomplished now that they have graduated and are out in the real world. And so I mentioned Jim saying clogging because Hannah Edlin, Miss Kentucky, is actually an honors alum, and she just did a clogging routine for her talent in the Miss America competition. And so we are definitely wishing her the best of luck. Isaiah and I were actually small group partners in orientation, and so watching him do smooth creations and then watching the Bengals play and wear his designer sneakers has all been so full circle. There's also an amazing student by the name of Katie Clow, and she just impresses me so much as a woman in STEM. She does amazing things, and now she's on to getting her PhD, and that's truly incredible. Watching these students and all of these success stories that they have. There's even a current student, Alexandra Shugart. She's done amazing things within the Leadership Society at NKU called Norris Leadership Society. She's the president, and she hosts multiple different events that help students on campus become better leaders and do what they love. And then as a current student, my favorite thing I would say about the Honors College, or at least getting to watch, was just that strength and community that they have. The first years on the top floor of the new residence hall have a floor where they all live, and you can just really tell that they just have their own community and their own friends. And don't get me wrong, they have friends that are outside of honors as well, but what they've built is so special, and you can tell how much they care and love each other.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to. I was so Hannah was the student that I mentioned clogging about because she had she had done it in high school and had stopped doing it in college. And so Hannah Edlin, if you don't know, is Miss Kentucky this year, and she's competing. Watch on Thursday night the Miss America pageant. Hannah is an extraordinary human being who is incredibly passionate about education. She's a middle school teacher. She was just elected to the school board in her where she lives. She has started a nonprofit. She's written children's books. She's written children's books for kids. She started a nonprofit to get to bring more reading materials to children in rural Kentucky. She's from rural Kentucky in Appalachia. Yeah, she was the student that I mentioned about clogging, because she wanted to do something different as her talent a couple years ago in a talent show, and I told her to do clogging, which I guess she's continued to do. I'm really proud of her for that. But I'll be watching on Thursday night for that. But so my favorite part is actually kind of tied to that, and that is getting to know and work with students. And so the one thing that you will learn about us is that um, that this isn't you're not a number in the honors college. You're more than a name. You become part of the family of honors. We Michelle knows how many hundreds and hundreds of Christmas cards I just signed to send to our recent alumni. And keep in contact with them. We welcome them back to campus. I always joke that once you graduate from honors, you'll never get away from us, because we always stay connected, and we bring people back to campus a lot. And so my favorite part is that getting to know students so well. Because it's not just a facade. It's not just that hey, we want you to take a bunch of classes and graduate with honors. We want to get to know who you are. We want you to be part of the family. We want you long after graduation to think back and think, man, we're only successful if you're successful. As a student and as a graduate of our program, and most importantly as a graduate, and we want to continue to hear sort of your life stories after you graduate. And so that's my favorite part, is the interaction with students. One of the cool things, if you haven't been to our campus, is that our honors suite is very different than the honors space. So we have a large honors lounge where students hang out. We have whiteboards, we have tables, we have study spaces. Students hang out. It's a big open area. And all of our offices, including my own as the dean of the college, our door opens directly onto the student space. There's no administrative assistant or secretary or somebody you need to go through to get to us. We are literally there. Our doors are open throughout the day. Students wander in. We hear things happening in the lounge. We're constantly bringing in food. There's been muffins and candy and all kinds of stuff all week because it's finals week. Students come in all the time. And it really is it is a community, a supportive community that's very different than most people find in different areas of campus. So yeah, it is a very different kind of experience, but that's my favorite part about it. So there's a question in the chat. Somebody wrote to me about the living learning community and honors and the housing. So there's something a little different with the living learning communities. So if you go into the housing portal and apply for housing, it does not show up, because all you need to do is tell us in the honors college, once you're admitted to honors, that you want to live in honors housing, and you are guaranteed a spot in honors housing. We actually have blocked off 2 floors of the new residence hall. We're expecting to grow a little bit in terms of numbers. And so you basically don't go through the regular process of picking a room or picking the building. Our living learning community is in the new residence hall. We have the top couple floors. You just apply to housing to live in housing, and then you tell us that you want to be in the honors residence hall, and we will guarantee you a spot in there. And then we'll start that process after February 1st. So another important thing with the application is that priority deadline to be considered for scholarships, including we do have housing scholarships as well for students for the new residence hall to help with students with the cost there. The deadline for all of that is January 15th. So that's January 15th. And if you apply by then, we make all the announcements about honors on February 1st. And then starting on February 1st is when you'll learn about housing. So if you noticed on the application I pulled up, it actually asks, are you interested in on-campus housing and honors living learning community? If you click that, what we do is we include you in that pool. You can also mention in your essay that you want to be part of the honors living learning community as that first part. And what we will do is proactively reach out to you and make sure that we guarantee you a spot in the new residence hall with the honors community. So is the honors living community separate from it? It's not a entirely separate community in the sense that it's in the residence hall. It's simply the top couple of floors in the new residence hall. And so the reason we do that is we actually have activities. I hold office hours over there. I do dinners with the dean, with the students in the living learning community. David Keim, who's our assistant director for student success, he holds office hours over there every week. with the students. There's kind of a little study lounge there. The RAs for those floors are honors students, and so they're really able to help out, advise students. So they act as mentors. So if students have questions about honors or their honors classes, those students have gone through those, and so we do that. So it is separate floors, but it's not entirely separated from regular campus living. So it's embedded within the campus living options. And we do have scholarships for students who need additional help with living on campus. We do have some donors who have helped us with that. So um, uh, basically, when you apply for that, your application to honors, your application, when you let us you're interested in housing, we will automatically consider you for those scholarships. They're not full housing scholarships. They're partial, and it brings the cost down significantly for students. So what's the one biggest thing that stands out in an application? Michelle, I'll let you. You've read a lot of these. I've read probably too many. I've read thousands of them over the past few years. So maybe you can talk about what stands out to you.
Yeah, I like when students are specific. So if we go back to that first question, it does say, what are you interested in and how do you plan on moving forward after graduation, whatnot. And I will say I do get a bit not tired, but when students say like, "Oh, after I graduate, I want to be a good member of the community." Don't get me wrong, that's great. We need great members in the community. But when someone can give a specific example and say, "Oh, I want to be a great member of the community by opening my own nonprofit," and it doesn't even have to be something that's necessarily, "Oh, I want to be the first person that goes to Saturn and lives there," or anything like that. I just need to see an honest answer there of just like something that I can genuinely tell, oh, this student it has an interest for this and wants to do this.
Yeah, I think the other thing that stands out a lot is students who've done a little research in the Honors College, so looked at our webpage. That's why there's a link directly to the webpage in the question, and have looked through it and went, and this is the kind of essays that I think stand out, that you might not think of, are the students who say, "Hey, I was browsing." Literally, will say, "I was browsing the website and I noticed you had a learning community on science, technology, and society, and I read the description, and this sounds exactly what I want to do with my computer science degree." Or, "I'm a nursing major, and I noticed you have a nursing learning community, and this is what I want to do. I think the learning community really helped me. I also see that you have a living learning community in New Residence Hall. I really want to be part of that." So you're really that specificity of letting us know, like, because again, we use this to help tailor the experience for you. And so if it's just a very vague sort of the worst essays, and I will be honest about this, are the very short ones, and they're usually 2 or 3 sentences long, that simply say they want to be in honors because it will look great on their diploma and that they hope to get scholarships from us. That's great, but that's not the most compelling reason. And it really doesn't help us tailor the experience to you. Like, how do we figure out how we can develop a program for you, that will help you make the most of college? So um, the more specific that you can be, but also really you have to be genuine. We want to feel like we get to know you. And so, Corbin, you asked the question earlier about, about trials and tribulations or, challenges you've gone through. That tells us about you. So as you're thinking about writing these essays, whatever you think will tell us more about you and your goals, your aspirations, your dreams, no matter how crazy they might be. Hey, I want to be, yeah, I do want to be the first astronaut to live on Mars. Like, that gives us something we can work with and figure out how do we help you achieve that goal. Because we have our alumni have gone on. One of our alumni is the president of the Country Music Association in Nashville. Never would have thought, we'd have somebody like that who's a recent alum of the program, or, own their own shoe company, or be Miss Kentucky and lead a statewide literacy program for youth. Or, so we have students at all levels, or we have students who intern or work on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., advocating for interests that they're really passionate about. So don't undersell yourself, and don't feel like, well, that might seem too lofty and won't seem real. If it's real to you and it's what you want to do, let us know, because we'll help you get there. And we have had students go on to do all kinds of things. I just recently talked to an alum who is a professor at the University of Southern California Medical School. She's a doctor, and she went to Harvard, she was a postdoc at Harvard. She's now at USC. She's on their faculty. She's doing cutting edge research. And she's a graduate from about 15 years ago. And she wants to come back and mentor students and help them like through that same pathway. So, you can do almost anything and we'll help you get there. That's our job. That's what our goal is. So
So,
the yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, Michelle.
So the question is, when is the application deadline? And the priority deadline to the Honors College, which gives you access to all of these things that we've talked about, is January 15th, 2023.
Oh,
Where
2023, sorry, I typed 2022.
That's okay. And so then after that, if you do apply after January 15th, then the final absolute deadline is May 1st.
And I will tell you this year in particular that there will be no scholarships available after January 15th. So that you can be admitted to the Honors College, but there will not be scholarship opportunities. So we're also recording this to put up on our YouTube channel. So if you're not here, but you're watching later, or even if you are here and you have friends and you tell them, please spread the word about the Honors College and how we're different than others and the amazing work that we're doing for students. But please spread the word January 15th, because after that, we're committing. In years past, we've saved scholarship money for students who've come later. This year, we are dedicating all of it to students who have applied by January 15th. That's our priority this year. And again, and I also want to say this. I've heard students tell me this in the past. Well, I didn't tell my friends because it's really competitive and I didn't want to I didn't want to diminish my chances of getting in the Honors College. Also, unlike other honors colleges, we don't say we're only going to accept 150 students. We don't do that. What we do is if you apply and we read your application individually and we believe that you should be in the Honors College, we say yes. So I tell the admissions committee, don't worry about the numbers. If we have 130 or 220 students who qualify, we'll admit all of the ones that submit good applications that we believe we can make a difference in their lives. And so that, again, that's a very different philosophy than some of the other colleges and programs out there who are in honors, who have a limitation. So great. So I got a private question here. Great question. Do you have to commit to NKU before applying to honors? No. In fact, you don't even need to be admitted or apply to NKU before you apply to honors. Apply to honors no matter what, and apply before January 15th. You don't need to commit to NKU or even be admitted before you apply. Now, you have to be admitted to NKU before we can admit you to the Honors College, but our application is free. It's open. It doesn't require that you have already applied to NKU or be admitted or that you have committed to NKU. So don't worry about that. But if you think this sounds like a great opportunity for you or anyone else, apply and apply early. We're going to start reviewing applications as soon as we get back from the holidays. And then we'll January 15th will be our deadline, and we will announce everyone and all the scholarships on February 1st. Any other questions that anyone has? I hope we've gotten you excited about honors at NKU. If you can't tell, we're very passionate and we love what we do. Well, if you don't have any more questions, the other thing that I can add is that if you have questions after this, the easiest thing to do is to email honors@nku.edu. That email goes to both myself and Michelle directly. It's much easier than memorizing BUSSJ1 and like our private emails or our personal emails. We check this daily, hourly. But if you email honors@nku.edu at any time, we will answer that email promptly and get back to you. Also, if you have any questions about NKU, or if you have any issues, if you have questions about housing, or you've run into any issues, don't hesitate to email us. Michelle and I, we're just talking yesterday or today about, you know, we're helping students with transcripts to the university and all kinds of things. We want you to be here at NKU. We want you to have a great experience. We want you to be part of our community, and we will help you in any way, shape, or form do that, even if it's not directly involved with honors. The last thing I will add, because it's the only time you will hear this on a college campus, anywhere that you go, everything that is in honors is free. We don't charge for anything. We take students on class trips to Chicago. We take students all around the region. We do all kinds of activities. We give scholarships out. We help students study abroad. All of those kinds of things. We don't charge for anything from the Honors College. And so we have some very generous donors who help us support students, and have sort of tasked us with using their money to help students make the most of their college careers, and importantly, become leaders of tomorrow in their communities. And we take that responsibility seriously. And part of that responsibility is to make this cost neutral for you as a student, as a member of the college. And so please apply. It's free. It's open. Share this with friends, colleagues, anyone else. Corbin, great. Can I do Honors College while double majoring? Absolutely, yes. The Honors College doesn't add courses to your career. Most of them count for general education, or even students in your major, or classes in your major. We had a student 2 years ago who graduated from NKU in 4 years on time with a double major in theoretical physics and theater performance. You could not pick two majors that are polar opposites and have nothing to overlap. She did that. She did all of her honors. She graduated on time, and she's now working in a graduate program in theoretical physics at Miami University of Ohio. So you can we will help you make anything possible. We have about a quarter of our students in the Honors College double major. And so we can make that happen. That's not an issue at all.
And I'd like to add to that. We see now too so many students coming in with almost having their associates, or maybe having their associates, and then they ask, will that add any time onto their degree? And the answer is no, it won't. It will allow us just to have the Honors College personal experience tailored to you.
Yeah, to give you a sense, 86% of students who start in the Honors College graduate in 4 years or less from the university. So 86% on track with honors, with everything else that they're doing, on track to graduate in 4 years or less. Any other questions that anyone has? Well, we're really happy that you joined us. I'm going to ask Michelle to turn off the recording. We'll end here.